Today I'm here with another unusual keyboard. This is the Vivo H7, which I believe is made by the company called Dexibell. It says it's handmade in Italy, and it also says that it was designed in partnership with Ferrari's concept design team. And it definitely has an unusual look. If you close the fallboard here, you can see that it doesn't look like your standard keyboard, and also the bench is a little bit unusually designed, and it definitely has a unique look to it, and it also has a unique sound to it. I think it has one of the better piano sounds for a keyboard. Generally, I don't always like the piano sounds on keyboards, but this one here is pretty warm. And it sounds pretty good. I've noticed that when you're changing dynamics, it seems to kind of like all of a sudden get louder. Like, maybe that's not true, but sometimes earlier when I was playing it, I'd want to play it a little bit louder, and then it would be like that was too loud. So the keys are actually textured to kind of look, I guess, like ivory. They have all these little like lines and stuff in them, which is kind of cool. And then you also have over here different piano sounds. All kinds of really neat sounds and stuff. Let's see, one of my favorites was, I like this one. It's like a vibraphone or something. There's also xylophone, marimba, celesta. Let's see, not quite as nice as a real Celesta, but not bad. Oh, this is a harp. I don't think I've ever played around with the harp sound on a piano before. Neato. Anyway, it has lots of neat sounds and stuff, and it has a definitely unique case as well. The action isn't bad. It obviously doesn't feel like a real piano action would, but as a keyboard goes, it feels pretty nice. So hopefully you enjoyed this video on an unusual keyboard, and you can go check out my channel and look at the other videos I have. If you like those, you might want to think about subscribing, and if you do, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Today I am here with an absolutely beautiful piano, and I never start off my videos with the fallboard down, but if you could just see that this piano is absolutely amazing. I love the wood that was used on this piano. It's beautiful. I love the dark colors and the complex designs in it. I believe this is burl walnut, and it's absolutely fantastic. Here it is with the fallboard up. You have the Steinway logo, and then of course on the sides it's all walnut as well, and it looks just absolutely amazing. And so I'm going to play some stride piano on this wonderful Steinway O, and hopefully you enjoy it. with a brand new Estonia. This is their 7-foot approximately model. It's the L210, and it also says on the little tag from the store that it's the L210 PE, which might mean Performance Edition or something like that. If you're interested in seeing this piano in person and perhaps exploring the store that it's at as well, I'll let you know where I found this piano in the comment section down below. Now, I've done videos on Estonia pianos in the past, and I've been rather rough on them, and I honestly, in the past, have found that the Estonias that I played at that time were not to my liking. However, I have now found that Estonia is really starting to make really excellent pianos, particularly when it comes to the action, but also the sound of their pianos now is really, really beautiful, and I'm honestly starting to become a fan of Estonia pianos now. They're making very quality pianos. What I found in Estonia pianos from around 10 or so years ago is that the actions were rather heavy, and they really didn't perform all that well. You could play them, but they weren't effortless like modern piano actions are, and they weren't really my kind of piano. And I also found that in some of them, the middle, the low bass range here was brighter and not as full as it normally is in a concert grand piano. So today I'm here with the Estonia L210, and I'm going to play a simple little song that I wrote myself. It's very pretty, and it really, really exposes the qualities of these awesome pianos. And so hopefully you enjoy it. As you can hear, this particular Estonia has a beautiful, clear, crystalline, sparkly treble, and the mid-range down here that I talked about in older Estonias was bright and rather thin. It's warm and full here, and it sounds absolutely beautiful. Now, I've played a little bit more on this piano, and I found that the extreme low bass isn't as amazing as some 7-foot pianos are, but honestly, the rest of the piano is absolutely amazing. And the action is also really excellent. It's very light, it's very responsive, and it really does everything I want it to do. And so Estonia pianos are getting much better than they used to in the past, which I'm very glad about because they're becoming very good pianos. So hopefully you found this video rather entertaining and enjoyable, and if you liked it, you can go check out my channel and look at my other content. I have lots of piano-related videos on there you can explore, and if you like my videos, you might want to think about subscribing. And if you do that, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Yeah, I think the action on this is it's really amazing. The action on the older piano I played wasn't that great, but the sound and the action of this piano is just amazing. It's light and quick and responsive, and it does everything you want it to do. I love the sound of the treble too. This is the logo on the fallboard of a restored and refinished 1965 42-inch upright Steinway, and as you can see, this is the brand new Steinway & Sons logo. So when they refinished the piano, I guess they weren't able to get the old original Steinway logo, so they put it with the new logo, which I have to say it looks quite nice on this piano. So let's see the piano as a whole. So here is the entire upright piano. As you can see, it's pretty short. It's 42 inches tall, and as I said, it was made in 1965. And you can probably tell that just because it's a wood color, and of course they've done wood colors in pianos much later than 1965, but this type of color was quite popular back then, much more so, I believe, than black pianos, at least for the home consumer. So what's kind of cool about this piano is it's been refinished, and so this wood is all in very, very nice condition. As you can see here, what's interesting about it is the keyboard kind of protrudes out from the front of the piano. It's kind of odd. There's only a few pianos that I've known of that do that, and apparently Steinway was one of the ones that did this back in 1965. If you look at, say, a more traditional upright, such as this one here, the side of the piano and the cheek block come out in line a little more even than the key bed does. And this is a brand new Yamaha, and that's the style it's done now, but this design is a little bit interesting. It looks kind of funny. I kind of like it though. This piano only has two pedals. You have a damper pedal and then also one that scoots the hammers closer to the strings to make the piano slightly softer. And unfortunately, the keys on this piano are not ivories. Steinway was one of the first manufacturers to go to synthetic key tops, at least for US Steinways, and they did so in the 50s, so this one is 1965, and that would be why the key tops are plastic. But they have been textured to kind of look a little bit more like ivories and also to feel slightly more grippy, kind of like ivories do. If we take a look at the inside of the piano, we'll see that everything inside has either been refinished or replaced. We've got new hammers that have had some playtime on it, so maybe it's been played a bit since it's been restored. New dampers, new strings. I think the tuning pins are not new, but they might have been polished to look a bit shinier. And overall, it's pretty cool. So now I'm going to play a quick little demonstration for this piano. It's a song that I wrote specifically to test out pianos. It goes in the treble and it goes down to the bass, and it gives a pretty decent sound of the piano. So hopefully you enjoy it. As you can hear, this piano has a very bright sound to it, but I kind of like it in a way. I generally don't like the brighter sound of pianos, but it's not an annoying type of bright. It's more of a pleasant bright. It's kind of a cold type of bright. If you wanted to do like a pop song or something, it would be a really great piano to record on, because it sounds just like the pop pianos you hear on the records. Today I have a rather interesting piano here. This is a Niemeyer, or Niemeyer, I'm not really sure how the name is pronounced. It's spelled N-I-E-M-E-Y-E-R. And I'd have to guess that this is a stencil brand piano, because if it was made in Germany or some nice country like that, it would say in the corner, made in Germany or made in USA or something like that. So I'm willing to bet that it's probably a stencil brand from China or Korea or someplace like that. But honestly, it's not bad. And what's kind of cool about this piano is it's very affordably priced, and I don't really mind the piano at all. It makes a very nice practice piano. And what's also cool about this piano is, while I don't mention pricing very much on my channel, this piano happens to be both for sale or rent. So if you wanted to try out the piano, I guess you could rent it for a month, and it's honestly a very affordable piano, if I didn't mention that already, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, it's made of this really nice dark red wood, which I really like the look of. I don't know what type of wood it is, but it has a very nice look to it here, and it's very pretty. I really like it. And whoops. And this giant piece here folds down, which is kind of funny. I guess that becomes your music desk. That's kind of cool. Usually, pianos like this, they fold up, and then there's a little shelf here you put your music on, but this giant piece here folds down, and then you put your music here. This is a feature I love about this piano, because if you have a bunch of individual sheets of paper, rather than trying to fit them on a little shelf that's this long, you can have like 6 sheets of paper all across the front of the piano, which I think is a really great feature. I wish more pianos did that. I wish keyboards did that, to be honest with you. It's kind of annoying that no keyboard that I can think of has a full-length music desk like that. I wish they did that more often. If we take a look at the inside of the piano here, we can definitely see that it's new. It's very colorful. The dampers on this side of the piano are like Christmas themed. They've got both green and red felt on them. So maybe this piano would make a good Christmas present. I don't know. I think it kind of would. It's very new, very shiny, and I like the color of the harp here. It's very glittery, and it has a very cool color to it. It's very nice. So I'm going to play a quick little melody on this piano, and so hopefully you guys enjoy that. I wrote this melody to test out piano specifically, so hopefully it does a good job of testing out this one. This piano is a very well-rounded piano. The action has a rather substantial and heavy feel. Some people don't like a substantial and heavy feeling action, but it works very well, and it does everything that I need it to do as far as that song is concerned. And the cool thing about playing a piano with a heavy action is that if you get used to the feel of it, when you go to a piano with a light action, playing that piano becomes incredibly easy, and you can play your songs actually way better than you would be able to if you practice on a piano with a light action and then went to perform on a heavy piano action. It wouldn't go quite as well. And I think the bass in this piano is actually pretty nice for the size of this piano. I estimate this is maybe a 40-ish inch piano, but the bass on it has a pretty nice sound to it, and it's pretty nice. And just to show you, there is the logo for the Niemeyer piano. Let's get it to focus here. There we go. And now you can see that really pretty wood I was telling you about. It's beautiful. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Today I am here with a couple of unusual pianos, and in case you're wondering why I'm talking so quiet, there's actually a lesson going on just around the corner, and I'd really like to not disrupt that. So I'm going to be talking quietly, and I'm not going to play either of these pianos, but they're just basically an average upright piano, but I just thought they were unusual for a number of different reasons. This one here is a Fritz Dobbert upright, and you're probably not familiar with the name. You might know of Dobby from Harry Potter, but not a Fritz Dobbert piano, and that's because this piano was actually made in Brazil. If we open up the lid here, there's a round logo here that says Pianofatura Paulista and then SA, and then at the very bottom it says Brazil spelled with an S because that's how they spell it in Spanish. And so it was made in Brazil, and it's made of this unusual wood as well, which we'll look at again. As you can see, it has a practice pedal there, and which is kind of cool, makes the piano quieter. Got a pedal that moves the hammers closer to the strings, and of course a damper pedal, because a piano is not a piano without a damper pedal, really. It's in good condition in here as well. The hammers have a little bit of wear, but they're in very good condition otherwise, and there's nothing really wrong with it, so it's a decent piano. Let's take a look at the wood on the outside, because it's very interesting. There's a name for it. Let me take a look at this sticker and so and see what it says. It says it's made of imbuin wood, I-M-B-U-I-N. And that's what this wood is made of. It's a very cool looking wood. It's unlike anything I've really ever seen. It's probably something that grows wild in Brazil, and they're like, hey, let's make pianos out of it. It's actually very pretty. So today I have a rather interesting item that is not actually a piano, but it is laid out rather similar to a piano. This is actually a type of xylophone. It's made by a company called SPG. They have a small little tag here that talks about all of them. If you can actually read that, you can pause the video and read it. It's pretty cool. This is an XY series xylophone, and apparently they have a whole different line of xylophones. They're locally made here, and the keys are actually made of African Paduak, which is a common wood that is used in xylophones. Rosewood and Paduak are commonly used in xylophones, and this actually has a really nice tone. Now these mallets I found just around the shop. I think they actually go with this little drum here, but they also work on this as well. I think with a xylophone usually the mallets are a harder and more brighter tone, but honestly these soft rubber mallets do work pretty well on this particular xylophone because the bars are large, and with large deep bass bars you don't need as bright of mallets as you do with the very high treble. So I'm just going to play a little bit on this thing. I'm going to go all the way up the scale. It's an octave and then just a couple notes up on the top. It's a full scale, it's not pentatonic, so it's in the key of C, so you have C and then all the way up until E. I think if it went up a little bit higher, that would be even nice, because these particular mallets, anyway, really love these two notes up here. They really sing out. And the one down here, I think, could, maybe a larger, fluffier mallet, I think, would make these ones sing out a bit more. These ones are a bit small. I'm just going to play a little bit on it and just give you guys an idea of what the sound is like on this one. Let's see here. I've always liked piano action demos. We have a few at our house, and I thought that we had a lot, but I have found a whole bunch of them in one of the back rooms at Arizona Piano Company. These two here appear to be the same type of action. It doesn't say what line of Kawai action these are, but they're both made by Kawai, and they both contain composite parts. And so you can see all the pieces of the action, and all the black ones would be made of composite, plastic, and carbon fiber. So these two appear to be the same action. I don't see any visual differences between them, so that's pretty cool. This here, I believe, would be the same thing except for an upright piano, and the spring here should go right in there. And so that's for the upright piano. Again, you have lots of various composite carbon fiber plastic parts. And you also have a bunch of keyboard action demos. So this is the Grand Feel action, which I think they use in the MP11. And you can see that it's a much simpler design than a piano action, which has loads of moving parts. This has like one. You have the one single weighted lever that comes up. You have a little rubber dongly thing there that imitates the let-off feel, and then the sensor is actually back here, which I find odd, not here where the little hammer, I guess for the lack of better terms, hits. And so that's very interesting to see how they make a keyboard action feel like a piano, except be in a much more compact space. Here's another grand feel action. We have an RM3 grand, which I think they use in some of their lesser keyboards. And what else do we have here? This is responsive hammer action. They have, which I think they use in some of their lower end keyboards. It doesn't feel as nice as the grand feel action by any means. And they have a little demo here. This one does not have any let off, and the other three do, and it feels much lighter and not as nice. And this one is not labeled whatsoever. It just says Kawaii on it, so I don't know what this would be. It's a much different design. Once again, the little lever that goes under the key is actually literally under the key, whereas like with this one, it's much more piano-like. So that's kind of interesting. But we found that interesting. I always like looking at the inner workings of things, pianos particularly, and hope you found that kind of cool. This is a Kaiser piano. It was made in Japan, out of all places, even though the name might suggest Russia. It was actually made in Japan. As you can see here, it says Tenryugaki Hamamatsu, and Hamamatsu is a city in Japan where many pianos actually have been made in the past. Again, this one here has another practice damper. It says Kaiser here, and then also a random 10 stamped onto the harp. And I don't really know what that 10 means. Maybe this is a Kaiser Model 10, or perhaps this Tenryugaki company, if that is a company, and if I'm pronouncing it right, had a whole line of different brands, and they just stamped 1 through 10 for each of the different kind of like stencil names that they owned. If we take a look at the inside, we can see that it's relatively old. The hammers do have some wear. At some point, someone really likes to play this piano, which is nice to see. And so yeah, I just thought I'd show you a couple of unusual pianos that you most likely have never heard of, and in the case of the, what was it called? The Fritz Dobbert piano of a country that I've never seen a piano come out of. So I just thought that might be kind of interesting to show you guys, 2 unusual pianos. And one further thing I wanted to mention about both of these pianos, both the Kaiser and the Fritz Dobbert, is they are a continental design, which means they don't have any front legs. If you look on both the Kaiser and the Fritz Dobbert, which is this one here, there's no front legs right here. There's nothing at all. But yet the piano itself, if you shake it, it's pretty stable. It's not really going to go anywhere. And same with this one here. If we wobble it, this one's even more secure. If we look at this one, it's got wheels down here and a rather unusual design where it comes out and makes an acute angle down here. But once again, it has no front legs. This was a design that was popular several years ago. I don't think any continental pianos are made anymore. This is called a hammered dulcimer, and there's a very similar instrument that comes from the Middle East or Asia. It's called the santur, and it's very similar to a hammered dulcimer. This is kind of like the American version of the santur. I believe that it's very popular in the Appalachian area, as well as the standard dulcimer, which is played with a guitar pick, and it's a much different instrument. The hammered dulcimer, though, is played with these sticks that have a little handle on this side, and then a wooden striking point here. I don't really know what you describe that shape as, but this is what hammered dulcimer sticks usually look like. Some of them are symmetrical on the end. These ones are just kind of like half a spoon shape. And basically you just play it, and since it's wood hitting metal strings, it has a very bright sound. And this one, I believe, is a bit out of tune. The way it works is, and I'm not even 100% sure how the tuning works, but I think this string is a fourth below this side. So you have strings that run from down here all the way underneath this bridge, and then over this bridge, and this side of the instrument is non-speaking. It sounds like a horror movie soundtrack, and it's actually kind of cool, but you don't really play on this side of the instrument. So this here is a note area, this is another note area, and then there's also more strings on this side that you can play. So this side is a fifth. Again, it's a bit out of tune, and I think it could use some tuning. And then on this side here is a fourth. Again, I think those ones aren't in that interval, but you can hear it, that's a fourth. And And so there's actually a very wide array of music you can play on it. There's a guy on YouTube who's really good at playing these, and he makes beautiful music on them. And this instrument was made in Stillwater, Minnesota by, I guess, a company called Music Makers. And like I said, these are very popular in America. There's lots of small makers of hammered dulcimers as well as regular dulcimers. And so I just thought I'd do a quick little video on this instrument because I've never done a video on it before, and it's a pretty cool instrument. And I'll just let you come here and take a closer look at it. The bridges are kind of shaped like a Roman aqueduct, which is very interesting. It has to be because the strings, like I said, go underneath this bridge, and then they are they're cut off on this side so that there's two actually different strings on the bridge. It's a very, very interesting instrument, and hopefully you enjoyed this quick little review of a hammered dulcimer. Now again, I'm not a hammered dulcimer player, but I do kind of understand the basic theory of it, and if this was all in tune, I could probably play it a little bit better for you. But I just thought I'd do a quick video on it because it's kind of cool. Today I am here with a Mason & Hamlin Double B from the about 2014, which is Mason & Hamlin's prime era in the last few years. It is an absolutely fantastic piano. It has a really warm sound, a beautiful bass, and overall an awesome, awesome sound. So today I'm going to play the Pirates of the Caribbean theme arranged for piano, but what's kind of special about it is that the guy who actually wrote and arranged this piano performance is actually a Mason & Hamlin artist, which is kind of cool. Today, I have a clock, and you're probably wondering if you're familiar with my content, what are you doing? It's not a piano! But if you look up here, it's actually made by Baldwin. It has a little Baldwin logo, as well as a little set of piano keys there. And that's extremely interesting. Baldwin actually did make clocks at certain times, and I'm willing to bet that this clock was made during the 80s, because they used this type of wood, this same color with a little black flecks in it, on many pianos during the era. We used to collect upright pianos and resell them and stuff, and we've seen several of these pianos that have this exact style of wood that would date from the 1980s. So that's approximately when this clock was made. As you can see, it's actually very pretty. I really like all the ornate metalwork and stuff going on here. It looks really cool. And then you have 3 weights down here. The center weight is actually for the pendulum, and that's what would keep the clock going in time. And the other 2 weights would be for the chimes, because this clock has little bells and stuff inside, and when it hits the quarter hour, the half hour, and of course the hour, it will ring. And there's a couple little switches up here. The one over here simply just says silent and strike, and so that I assume would enable and disable the chimes to work. And then over here on the right hand, you can actually select the tune that the chimes will play. You have at the top WHITT, I'm not sure what that stands for. And then you have St. Michael's, you have Westminster, and then you have silent down there at the bottom. And then the three holes there would be for winding up each pendulum, and you have a little like second hand thing, and then the other hands and stuff. So it's a very, very cool thing, and I thought that you guys might find it interesting. I'm not going to fire it up and hear what the chimes sound like, because it's not my clock, but I found this at Arizona Piano. I'm not even sure if it's for sale, but if you're in the Phoenix area, you can come by and look at it for yourself, because it looks pretty cool. In case you're wondering why the two weights are at the top and then the third one is down at the very bottom, that's because this clock is currently set to be running on the time only, and so the two weights for the chimes would not be active. So as the clock runs, the middle pendulum, which activates the pendulum, would go down and eventually reach the bottom and stop, but the middle two, the two on the sides, would not be active and doing anything. Today I am here at a piano store in Sacramento, California, and I thought it would be kind of fun to go through their small little rental fleet here and look at each piano and just see kind of what they are. I've never done a video like this before, and the pianos that are going to be featured in this video aren't necessarily going to be the world's greatest pianos or the most beautiful pianos, but they'll just be kind of interesting because there's probably going to be stuff in here that I haven't heard of and that you haven't heard of, and so maybe you can stick around and check it out. It might be fun. The first piano here, I can almost guarantee you've never heard of it. I can't really guarantee that, but I never heard of it. Maybe if you're from England, you might have heard of this. This is a night piano. It was made in London, and I've never seen one before. I like the wood on it. It's a bit out of style now. I don't think this color of wood is really popular anymore, but as you can tell, it's just quality. It's really well made. You've got a little music disc here. I kind of wish it extended the entire length of the piano, but that's okay. A nice lid. I really like the wood and all that. It's a nice quality piano. It's well made. It has interesting curves to it as well. You can see the way it kind of like, it curves in here and it curves here, and you can see the way, instead of just meeting up straight, the wood curves and then the wood curves down here to meet up with the lid. It's very unusual, and it's very interesting. So let's take a look at the inside of the piano here. There's a little lip here that I can use to grab and open this up, and they kind of interlock there. They don't meet like that. The top lid kind of like, it goes behind the front plate, which is kind of odd, which means that you can't just come and grab the piano from here. You have to use the side. So let's finally take a look at the inside. We can see a badge here on the top. Made in England, this instrument has been specially manufactured for the American climate and is fully guaranteed. Now, I think that if you took a little bit of effort and tuned this piano, maybe probably replace the hammer. Some of them look a little bit bent and out of place. But I think if you took the time to put some work into this piano, I think it would be pretty nice. It needs a tune at the moment, and the little felt for the practice pedal that would come in front of the hammers and make the piano quieter, that seems to be missing. That wouldn't be difficult to repair. And the strings are original, and the dampers are original, and also there's a little nut here missing, or whatever you call it. One of these. There's one of these, but it's missing here. It helps hold the action in. To remove an upright action, it's really simple. You take these things out. There's usually like 3 or 4 of them. There's one here, and one down at the other end. Take those out and the action pops out. So you need to put one of those on. It's not necessary, but it just kind of makes the piano look better on the inside. But like I was going to say, the piano wouldn't be bad if you just tuned it up and maybe did some work on it. It would be pretty nice. Just to kind of get an idea of what, there's more badges down here. We've got University of California. So I guess the University of California must have owned this piano at some point. Hopefully you can read that there. The camera doesn't want to focus on it. It's being stubborn. Now you can kind of see it. It says University of California on it. And then there's also a badge here as well. It says Piano Humidity Indicator. When both spots are pink, your home is dangerously damp and your unprotected piano can develop sticking keys, sluggish action, rust, and needs retuning. When one spot is pink and one spot is blue, humidity is normal and piano is okay. You can probably read that as well. When both spots are blue, your home is dangerously dry, blah, blah, blah. I can't really read the rest. But that's interesting. Both spots seem to be white. Maybe on the camera it looks like one's blue and one's pink. So I guess the piano's fine. That's interesting. I don't know how long that kind of thing would last, and I've never seen anything like that in a piano. But typically those kind of little things like that change color based on, chemicals or the conditions, they don't last that long, so it might not be active anymore. But it was kind of cool. So I just thought that you might enjoy this piano. It's kind of cool. Someone decided to draw on it with a Sharpie there. It's a bit unfortunate.
So this piano over here is rather interesting as well. This is a Zimmermann. You might be familiar with these. I think these were kind of popular in the early 2000s, maybe earlier. I've played on a Grand, one of these. I used to know a place that had a Grand Zimmermann as well. And this, I believe, was owned. Zimmermann was owned by C. Bechstein. They had they bought the factory for Zimmermann and was pushing that brand for a while, but then dropped it because it wasn't doing well or something like that. So if we look on the inside, we can see a massive amount of green felt. C. Bechstein likes green felt, so that doesn't necessarily mean this is owned by C. Bechstein, but I think I read that somewhere. There is a big logo here on the front. The inside of the piano, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. The strings are pretty new. Big logo. It's got some German writing up top there. Zimmermann probably means since 1884, and it says Union made in GDR. I assume German something. So that's kind of interesting. If you look at the inside, the hammers are in really, the hammers themselves have a bit of wear, but the actual ends of them are really clean. Hopefully you can see that. So I think this piano is relatively new, or the lid's just been always closed, because the little, I guess, are they hammer butts or whatever, the ends there look really clean and almost brand new, but the hammers themselves have some wear. And as you can see, it's the same situation down here. Doesn't sound terrible if an upright piano. That sounds pretty good. And also, this piano, as well as the Knight, have a little post there that you can use to open up the lid and play the piano and have the sound come out towards you and make it a bit louder. Another interesting thing about the Zimmermann is it's a continental design, and what that means is there's actually no front legs to the piano. And the Knight here is almost a continental, but it kind of has legs that stick out here. This has no front legs whatsoever, and as you'd think would be a very unstable design, but typically this is a particularly solid one. Look, I can't even move it, but yet it doesn't have any front legs. Normally, in case you're not familiar with the standard upright, you probably are, but normally upright pianos have a leg that comes down here, or at the very least feet that come out here, and then also a vertical support beam there. So, but the Continental style was popular several years ago, probably a bit longer ago than that, honestly. I've seen a few, we've actually owned a few, and you see these floating around every now and then. They look unstable and they look kind of weird, but they actually seem to be pretty stable. I also didn't play anything on the Knight as well. I'll just give you a little idea of what it sounds like. Like I said, it needs a tune, but I don't think it would be terrible if you actually tuned it and did some work on it. As you can see, the Zimmermann here also has, oh, this is nice. It's got a little metal, I guess it's probably aluminum. It's got some dents in it, but it's a little aluminum thing that helps hold your music there. This can close as well, and that's what it looks like closed. Got some marks. I'll play a little bit on this as well. This is definitely in tune, so I'll play a little bit of my own song here real quick. It has only 2 pedals, so it was probably an entry-level piano. I believe that's what Zimmermann was. Okay, the treble out of tune. That's okay. Now, of course, rental pianos are almost never the world's greatest pianos, but they're very affordable, and they can give people an idea of what having a piano would be like, and maybe give their child an idea of, hey, would you like to play the piano? Here's your piano, try it out. And that's basically the idea behind these. This piano is not for sale, rental only. This is a Hobart M cable. Let's open up the lid. Craftsmanship and quality, 10-year warranty, Hobart M cable. Serial number up on top there, and that's about it. This piano looks like it's pretty old, and yeah, it's a basic, 40-ish inch piano. It looks like it has a direct blow action, does not have a drop action. Some pianos, even of this size, would have had a drop action, but it looks like it's a direct blow, which means that the back of the key, when you push it down, the back of the key directly activates the action. On spinet pianos and shorter models than this, the action would basically, the end of the key would lift up and then pull a long rod that would descend into the action. It would drop into the action and then lift up on the action parts that would be down below or level to the keys. So that's how spinet pianos are made, and that's why they're so short. This one is a bit taller, and that's why it has a direct blow action, even though some models, even taller than this, I think Baldwin made a few models that were like 45-inch pianos, but for some reason still had a drop action. It was very strange. You can see these unusually shaped pedals down here. We've got 3 of them. They're kind of like teardrop shaped or something. I'm going to play a little bit on this piano as well. He's a bit of a tune, that's okay. We've got a Kincaid piano. I've never heard of this brand before. If you guys have heard of any of these, if you have any interesting trivia about these brands, let me know. There's not much on the inside of this one at all. As you can see, someone has loved it a lot at some point. We've got lots of hammer wear and whatnot there. There's an odd little hole here in the harp, and it looks like that's where the serial number is. So I guess they just stamped it onto the wood behind there, and then just cut a hole in the harp rather than stamping it to the harp. The harp on this piano is very rough finished, and I'm willing to bet this was during the Aeolian era, like maybe the 70s or 80s. It looks older than that, but a lot of these pianos during this time period did, just because the harps were old, and also someone played this a lot. So it could be from older and before that. But if you guys know anything about it, let me know. Another Kincaid piano right over here. It's got a much different case. I've seen other pianos. I think Everett maybe have used that same exact style of music desk. Okay, I can't quite open this lid because it's hitting the other piano. Oh, there's a signature. Oh, it says tuned 10/28/2013. Wayne Kidache. Yeah, Kidache. So Wayne, you're watching this. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name. But it's kind of cool. He tuned the piano. And you can see the inside here, everything seems to be original, and it's in alright condition. We've got, again, someone played the hammers a lot. They got lots of wear. I think it's in a bit of a need for another tune, so maybe Mr. Wayne will get some more business. Who knows? If he's still around. Again, Kincaid, so that's what that is. Now this one over here is a Whitney by Kimball. So I suppose this was like Kimball's lower line of pianos, maybe? That's my best guess. Let's open up the inside. We've got, oh, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. It's a tune. I assume that these rentals probably don't get rented out a lot, which is why they're out of tune. The inside's actually in decent shape. As you can see, it's pretty old because the tuning pins there are a little bit, they're not rusted, but they have got some, a little bit of corrosion on them. We have a decal here. Fine hardwoods. All exposed surfaces of this article are certified to the Genuine Hardwoods American Crafted official certification, American Walnut Association. Never heard of that one before. That's a new one for me. And then down here we have a rather funny badge that says, this back has been processed by Kimball's exclusive mezzothermonial stabilizer to ensure unsurpassed tonal stability. So that's kind of funny. I guess, I don't know what a mezzothermonial stabilizer is, but it has one. Another kind of cool thing about this, as well as some of the others we looked at, you can really get a good view of what the pin block looks like. And you can see all the different plies here. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plies, and then there's a little bit there. So I guess it's an 8-ply. They're about pin block, and basically your pins go into that all the way through all those plies, and that is how the pin block helps the tuning pins stay in tune. Help the string stay in tune. The tuning pins go right into that. So that's kind of cool. Let's move on to the next one. We've got a few more Hobart M cables. They all look quite similar. This one looks just like the one we saw earlier. This is a Kimball. So it says console. Kimball console. Yeah, that's about what it is. So let's open this up. Oh, a little sticky. Oh, look at that fancy badge. I like that fancy badge. Look at that. That is surprisingly fancy for what I assume was an entry-level piano back in the day. That is I'm impressed. Why did they put such a nice, cool badge on a piano like this? That's pretty cool. I like it. Kimball Company. The only manufacturers thus honored. We've got all kinds of writing on the hammers when it was tuned, I assume. That's interesting. I've never seen anyone write on the hammers before. We've got that same kind of rough finished harp as some of the others, so probably all dating from maybe around the same time. There's little vent holes here, which is kind of neat. I assume these are to let sound out when you have the lid down, because there's no little opener on the inside. Now, a lot of these pianos do that when you close the lid, and it's completely normal. There's little, like, nubs if you look at it. You can see these little screws fit into here, and then that just helps keep the lid closed so little kids don't throw cookies or something inside, and it makes a loud noise, and some of them are even louder when you go to close them. But that's totally normal. Another Hobart M cable that looks about the same, by Story and Clark. So now we know kind of the origins of Hobart M cable. Let's take a quick look inside of this. Yeah, about the same as the other one. Maybe a little bit cleaner. Again, you can see the pin block up here. This one seems to have more plies in it. So, it's the inside of that one. The keys look like they're really clean. That's kind of cool. The inside of the keys there. Oops, that's upside down. And we've got the last two more Hobart M cables. This one is identical to what we just saw. And this one, I assume, is going to be basically the same. Yep, basically the same. This one is actually in pretty good condition. This is actually in pretty decent tune. The bass needs a bit of work, but the rest of it is good. And it actually doesn't sound all that bad. As you can see, the hammer's in good shape, the damper's in quite good shape. This one looks newer than a lot of the other ones. Maybe it's just been kept in better care, or maybe it actually is newer. I find it interesting the way different piano tuners leave their mark on the pianos. This guy here, I guess he unscrewed this, left his card in there, and then retightened it, because that's in there really good. I've never seen anyone do that before. I guess he gets a bit of free publicity here. And there you go. So if you're in this area, you can call this guy up, and if he's still active, you can have him tune your piano. And then the other guy, he signed his name on top of the pin block. We saw some people put their initials on the hammers. That's not here, but it's kind of funny the different ways that various piano tuners will leave their mark on the pianos. So hopefully you've found this video kind of interesting. It's nothing like I've ever done before. And again, like I said, these aren't the world's greatest pianos, but this one in particular was actually quite nice. The Zimmerman and the Nye were interesting, and it's just an easy way for someone to get into knowing what a piano is like, and it's just kind of fun. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you found some of these kind of interesting and seeing what the inside of all these different pianos looks like. You can go check out my channel. I have lots of videos out there of world-class pianos like Steinway and Beckstein. Actually, not too many about Beckstein, but lots of pianos about Steinway and Bosendorfer and all kinds of cool manufacturers. Fazioli, one of my favorites. So you can go check out those, and if you liked my my channel, you can subscribe, and also the information for the store where I found all these pianos will be in the comments and the description down below. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.